From the Channel Seed Studios, welcome to The Hook. A look behind the lines with Mike Palm and Ken Miller. Powered by Circa Sports Iowa. Sports betting the way it should be. This is Iowa Everywhere.
Channel Seed. Seedsmanship at work.
Well, hello again, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of The Hook. That's Mike Palm. He's the Vice President of Operations at Circa Sports. I'm Ken Miller, co-host of Miller and Condon, 11 to 1 on Des Moines Sports Station 106.3 KXNO. Coming up on the program, winter sports are now in the playoff season. The NBA, the NHL, both well underway. We'll take a look at baseball, as well as the Oakland A's are making their way seemingly from Oakland to Las Vegas here, and I think I saw 2027. Let's head to Las Vegas and catch up with Mike Palm, and soon there'll be three major sports housed in Las Vegas. If you would have told me that, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, that certainly doesn't seem like there was going to be any on that list, but here we are, and maybe the NBA feels like they're asleep at the switch, and how are they going to catch up?
Well, 2027, you mentioned, Kenny. I think that's the average attendance.
Yeah.
Alameda this season so far. What a horrific. That club could lose 120 games. I mean, if you watched them against the Cubs, they've got the worst run differential through X games in the history of baseball. The game was 1-1 yesterday. They lose by 10 again. It's I hope there's some changes in the next 4 years before they come here.
Well, if there was one encouraging sign yesterday, that kid that started, I think it's Mason Miller, he throws over 100 miles an hour. So we'll see where he's at in 2027. So where will it be at, Mike? It's going to be a little bit north, apparently, the stadium of where Allegiant is. So would that be directly across from T-Mobile?
Yeah, it's much closer to T-Mobile than it is to Allegiant, Kenny. It's,
okay.
Yeah, it's straight up there. You know where the In and Out is on Tropicana?
Yep.
It's like a little northwest of there. So it's just like a straight down throw from T-Mobile.
And so far, I guess, it's not official yet, but since when the news broke, how's it gone over in Las Vegas amongst the talk shows, amongst your customers, etc.?
Minimal interest.
Is that right?
Yeah. Just
because it's the A's?
It's the A's. It's a horrific team. We got another Oakland franchise. I mean, it's not the same as when you start a team like the Knights when they're born here.
Right. Yeah. Fair point. So what do you think the reception will be when season tickets go on sale? Will the locals buy, or are they going to rely on opposing teams to come and fill the building?
Well, they're going to try to. I hear they're trying to get an exception to the 32,000 minimum and try to build a much smaller stadium than that because they know they cannot sell a lot of tickets. Yeah, that's what I'm hearing, Kenny. And so it said 30,000 to 35. Minimum's 32, but the waiver has to be asked for to build like 24,000 seat stadium with very little foul territory. And just a real small stadium. There's a big concern about selling tickets. It's going to have to be a lot of corporate stuff, I think.
Well, we'll see how. So would there be, if there is, let's say it's 25,000, would that up the price point because there's the demand?
Yeah. Well, you would think you'd have to start with a higher floor.
Yeah.
If you have 60% of the tickets that most ballparks have, right? So we'll see. It's 82 or 81 home games is a lot of home games. Of course, we'll get, folks come in from the visiting teams and that, but we'll see. The city's 2 million people. Can it support 81 home dates? And probably by the time they get here, the NBA will be here as well, I believe.
Wow. It's interesting. And where would they go? They'll play T-Mobile, right?
They've got, there's land earmarked for an NBA arena bigger than T-Mobile. Right off the strip south, like 6 blocks more central than South Point.
So between the Mandalay and South Point?
Like Warm Springs.
Okay, yep.
Closer to South Point, like that Warm Springs and Las Vegas Boulevard. They have a whole huge plot of land there.
Huge.
Yes, huge.
Yes.
Mhm.
We looked at that when we were thinking about building a racetrack out there. The Breeders' Cup wanted a permanent home, and they thought that that might be something that a plot of land that might work. This is back 15 years ago now that was tossed around. Well, we'll see. 24,000. So that would probably kill any hope of ever holding an All-Star game, right?
Yeah, they'd never have an all-star game here with that. But we'll see. I mean, will they even grant the waiver? Who knows?
Uh-huh. But even 35,000, can you host the All-Star game with that few seats?
Not sure. I'm not sure. Well, what's Wrigley up to now? You get 40,000 in Wrigley now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not that many more. Well, we'll see how it pans out. It's been known for some time that that's going to make the move. And you mentioned it, the attendance at the Alameda Coliseum. I mean, Monday night it was 4,197, I think.
Yeah, and that's early in the season. Think about when it's in August and they're 40 games out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. September after school goes back. My gosh, that's going to be brutal. Well, since we're on the baseball conversation, let's continue on. What did you see this week since the last? I mean, Tampa has finally lost, but you know what? I'm still as impressed by them today as I were when they were unbeaten. They're a good ball club, Mike. I've come around.
They're scoring runs.
Yep.
That's the whole thing. They got to score runs. If you're scoring 6.5 runs a game, you're going to win a lot of games. I just think nobody's talking about the Braves because the Tampa's hot start. This Braves looks to me to be the best team in the National League, hands down. Now Milwaukee's it's not the same record, and they've played well too. But I think the Braves should be. The Dodgers should not be the favorites to win the National League, and they are. I think the Braves are the best team, and I don't think it's really close. Now, do you stay healthy? It's a whole long season, right? But I said the Braves, they were cheap at $1.20 to win the East, and 95.5 wins. They've done nothing to dissuade me. I like the Cubs, the way the Cubs are playing. They're winning these games. They're favored against the Dodgers today on Thursday as we tape this. So that'll be interesting. That's always a tough spot after you come back from a road trip. That first home game is usually a tough game. See if they can beat the Dodgers tonight.
Yeah, if they took the series from them the previous week. And let's stay on the Braves. For what do you have them to win the World Series? Have they fallen below 10-1 yet? They had to have.
Let me take a look, Kenny. I was just looking at the odds, but it wasn't our odds. I was looking at a different book that had it on a TV. It was on a national TV station. And the Dodgers are still the favorites at like plus 750, I think it was.
I don't think they're going to win their division, Mike.
Well, who's going to win it? I don't think the Padres. I bet the Padres, and I'm worried about the Padres.
Well, they're pitching. You were right about that. You identified.
They don't have an ace.
I don't.
And the bullpens. I mean, Hader all of a sudden they couldn't go to him for 4 outs yesterday. I thought that was a little surprising. He was fresh. I thought they could have gone to him for 4 outs. Let's see here. World Series. National League teams. The Braves are plus 650 with us.
Not surprised.
And the Dodgers are plus 950. So yeah, in our book, the book I was looking at was a national book, had the Dodgers at 750, and I think the Braves at 9-1. So that's interesting. Yeah, the Padres are actually shorter than the Dodgers to win the World Series right now with us at 850. And let's see what we got here. Jays are 12-1, and the Rays are 12-1, and the Yankees are 9-1.
Astros are where?
Well, they've got to be less. Yeah, 8-1.
Okay. Well, it's starting to separate themselves. So what does Tatis do to that Padres team now that he's being put back in the lineup?
Well, I always say he's such a liability in the field, though, because you can't even really hide him in the outfield.
No, it's tough.
But I sort of had the home run yesterday, but I can't help but think this team would have been better served to go get Luis Castillo instead of going to get Soto last year.
Get an ace. Get an ace.
They don't have an ace.
Yeah.
UU is not an ace. Snell is far from an ace.
Yeah.
I mean, they're of course we're still waiting on Musgrove to come back, right?
And that's soon, right?
Yeah, it could be as early as next week, I heard. But certainly by the start of May.
Well, get him back in the lineup. We'll see. Is there a team that's kind of floating under the radar in either of the leagues?
The Pirates have been playing good ball. I mean, it's very early.
Yeah,
it's early, but they played good ball.
They have.
They've been fun to watch. This Ranger team's interesting too. Can the
Mm-hmm.
pitching hold up? They're putting their nose there. They're going to be right there. It looks like in the West.
What a difference a manager makes, right?
Nobody talked about that when they talked about the win total at 80. I mean, they were like, you could find plus 240 to make the playoffs with them. I wish I'd have taken it. I did take over 80.5. But we'll see.
I took him to win the World Series.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
I got a really good price. So we'll see. I want to move on from baseball. Anything else on the baseball docket?
Let's talk hockey.
Let's do that. I can't wait to do it. Playoffs have been unbelievable. As we tape here today, the Leafs have yet to take the ice. Let's start right there. Of all the games that have been played so far, that one to me was the biggest disappointment. And maybe I just bought in. Maybe I bought in that they made the moves at the trade deadline. 1967, the jinx is about to go away. They've got some defense. Their goalie's okay. They've got enough offensive punch. Bunting is now suspended 3 games. Matthews was a no-show in game number 1. They have to win tonight.
This is it for them. Yeah, I think they lose here. It's over. They might get swept. Samsonov was terrible. They were terrible. They couldn't stay out of the box. Yeah. You give up the goal in the last 5 seconds of the first period. Then you get it back to 3-2, and you take that stupid major and the 3-game suspension. They just were freaking awful. They were the worst of the 16 teams, and it wasn't close.
I agree.
It wasn't close. So, shame on me. If they lose this, shame on me. For thinking things are going to be different with this team. Yeah. I got a good price, so I bet it at opening at 150. It closed 175 for the series with Toronto. So anyhow, that's the only one I'm really worried about. Edmonton, inexcusable loss in game 1. They dominated again last night. Let the Kings back in it, though. But I think this will be same as the series was last year. It'll be a 6 or 7 game. Boston, Florida is going to be good. Florida plays them so tough. And they score on Boston 5-on-5. I mean, Florida played great in game 1. Nobody talked about it because they lost 3-1. But if this kid Lyon and net can hold up, this could be a very.
Where did he come from?
They made him their number. Remember when they started him at Toronto in a big game when they were still outside
late in the year?
We said, what the hell is Maurice doing? Is he conceding? Yeah. No. Right. He had decided he was the number 1 over Bobrovsky at that point, and he's played all the big games.
No, he's been really good. Had maybe 1 soft goal in the first game, but you know what? He was terrific. And Matthew Tkachuk, my good gosh, he's such a hockey player.
If Dean Evison starts Fleury again in this series, they should let him go.
Well,
it's inexcusable. Yeah, inexcusable. And that's why I never pulled the trigger on Minnesota. I feared they would start Fleury in the playoffs. How can Gustafsson wins you game 1, makes 50 saves in a double overtime win, and then you sit him in game 2 and give up 7 goals? I don't get it.
No, I don't either. Let's talk about the Devils and the Rangers because this Devils team, they've got my full attention. But you know what? They're a year away, aren't they? They're
a year away. They're a year away. It's a tough matchup for them in the first round. I'm not saying they can't win. I just think the Rangers were the side here. They probably should have been a small favorite. They were a very small dog for the series, plus 105. It's just tough. They don't have a playoff experience. Vanacek in goal or whoever they're going to play in goal, it's going to be less than Shesterkin.
Right.
That's the same thing I say with the Knights in Winnipeg. Hellebuck will be head and shoulders the best goaltender the whole series. It's hard to overcome that in the playoffs.
You've heard of it. It's a cliche, but if you got a goalie, you can ride him through the playoffs, and it happens every year. Laurent Brossoit.
How about that awful Mighty Ducks team that Giguère took to the finals? I mean, that's the greatest example of it.
Yeah. That was a bad team. And
that was a bad team. Barely made the playoffs.
I know it. So let's talk about Winnipeg. I hesitate to because my bias toward them. But we talked this time last week, and I thought that they would beat Vegas. If Vegas doesn't win tonight, they're not going to Winnipeg and winning 2 games. They're just not going to. I can't see that. The building's going to be bonkers. The White House is in full force, and that's the smallest building in the NHL, but it's as loud as any building in the NHL. And that's all they have in Winnipeg, Mike. There's no college team. There's no MLB team. There's no football team other than the CFL, and very few people care. Winnipeg will be absolutely going bonkers.
Yeah, but they have the perfect weather. Year round, they got great weather there, so it's not really a big deal.
Yeah. People are dying to live there, right? That's why you can't get a free agent. And and the first opportunity to leave comes up, it's see ya.
Well, who was it? Was it Toronto? Who was the team that went in there to play No, I'm trying to remember. They went in there to play, or it was the Blues or somebody, and they criticized the town of Winnipeg and the
Because they didn't have an
hotels.
airport?
It was really big. They said it's like,
No, it was the internet. Remember, they don't have the internet.
but what was it? The Blues? Who was there? San Jose? Who went in there and said
It
all
was a
kinds of
California team. It was
yeah,
San
San Jose.
Jose.
They said a lot
Yes.
of bad things about the city of Winnipeg.
Yeah. Well, they're all true. Take it from a
No,
native.
no. Come on, Kenny. The
You
mosquitoes
know
in the
what?
summer. How do you miss that?
Well, the mosquitoes.
Yeah.
Mosquitoes can pick you up and carry you off, for crying out loud. They're huge. I'm into my Jets, obviously. So Minnesota, Dallas. You're a big DeBoer's guy. They even the series up at 1 apiece. I couldn't agree with you more. Gustafson will play going forward. Let's assume he does. Does this series go the distance? I think of the 8. I think this is the one that's targeted.
If Gustafson plays the rest of them, every game will be a 1-goal game in the third period. There won't be no 7-3s. This will be 2-1, 3-2. Maybe there's an empty netter. There might be 3 or 4 overtime games. I mean, Dallas has a little bit more skill. Minnesota's more physical. It's really, there's no difference in these teams. Who's going to just play better? 2 great goaltenders. I mean, this is as close as you can get in a series, but you cannot start Fleury again.
Yeah, no, they won't. As you said last week on the program, you have $1,000 ticket on the Bruins at 35-1. Even I can do that math. How do you feel? We talked a little bit about it. Florida is a tough matchup, but Bergeron's coming back this weekend, right?
Yes.
It's a flu bug.
I think they will have a tougher time getting through this series than they will the next round.
Okay, against Toronto or Tampa?
Or Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
They dominate Tampa Bay. I'm so down on Toronto right now, and I might feel differently if they come out and play well tonight, but that was such a putrid performance. And the people in Toronto, I mean, all I'm reading on Twitter is if you lose tonight, don't come home. Disband this team and all that,
Yeah.
I thought we might be looking at a Maple Leafs Oilers final, the greatest rejoicing of Canada could ever have,
It's been a long time. What about Carolina? That's the one series we haven't talked about.
Look about the Islanders gave that game away last night. This series is
today.
closer than you think. It's the only 2-0 home team, and the only one that can be, because all the home teams lost that are playing tonight in game 1. Sorokin, 2 bad goals. The Aho goal, I guess he didn't see him flip it back, and then the game winner was a bad soft goal.
He scored from behind the net.
They were in the penalty box the whole game. They outplayed Carolina, I thought, last night. I don't think the series is over, because I think Carolina is just they have a hard time scoring. So I don't count the Islanders out yet. I would.
Well, they have to win tomorrow. They have to win tomorrow.
Yeah, but I would look at can you find the Islanders at 6-1 or something like that right now? It might not be worth a bad shot, because you get this thing back to 2-2 if they win tomorrow. All of a sudden, it's you're only going to have to lay 150 on the comeback to that ticket.
Mm-hmm. Not a bad idea. I agree with you. New York has been every bit as good as the Hurricane have been so far. I am grudgingly, let's talk about the NBA. So the news breaks early.
Can I say one other thing, Kenny?
Of course, yes.
I'm just interested in this game in Colorado tonight. I thought the Kraken looked like the better team in game 1. So I'm interested to see if Colorado comes out. They really had no control over that game. The Kraken controlled the whole game. And remember, this is your goaltender that you used to have. So it's a homecoming or extra motivation
true.
For Grubauer, right? Who they
absolutely. He was there last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I didn't see it because I was watching the Jets. When ESPN cut to it, so I didn't see much of it. So did Colorado get done? I mean, what was Colorado's? McCarr didn't play, correct?
No, he did not play, and they had very little puck control. They had very little offensive time. Seattle really controlled the game. I was very impressed with them. I was probably most impressed from a surprise standpoint.
Yeah.
Pleasantly for them and negatively for Toronto. Winnipeg game didn't surprise me. They dominated that first period, came out of it 0-0, but they dominated that game.
Yep, they did. And then they cut it to 2-1 after 40 minutes. And
they cut it to 2-1, and then Vegas had the power play. I said Vegas won't score here. Their power play is terrible, and that gives the game back to Winnipeg. If Vegas could have scored on the power play, it's a different story.
Yeah, I agree with you. Thankfully, they didn't, and off we go tonight. We'll see. NBA. Let's start with Kawhi Leonard. The news breaks that. Well, what did that do? I'll just ask it like that. When you got the news that Kawhi Leonard's taking another night off, I don't know how he does in the playoffs. It's just ridiculous to me. But here we are. What did that do, Mike? How did you guys react?
I think the line moved 2.5 points. I know guys that bet it last night on the overnight. It's just it's ridiculous. I mean, this league is, I don't know. I guess there's been some upsets early to make some of this competitive. The Knicks Cleveland's a very good series.
Yeah.
I think the Bucks will be okay now. Philly's going to dominate. Boston's going to dominate.
Golden State tonight.
Very interesting. Golden State now. Very interesting. They're 5.5-point favorite, but people have huge tickets on Sacramento out there. This team was thought to be so bad, and people bet them when they got a little momentum. It's interesting. We lose like $2 million to Sacramento.
Really?
Oh yeah, because the odds were 1,000 to 1. They were 250 to 1 to win their own division. I mean, come on. So I don't know how far it'll go. It's an interesting story, though. I mean, I enjoy watching it. I'm pulling for Sacramento, actually.
Yeah,
up to a point. Up to a point.
You're right. Yeah, you don't want to hurt the bottom line.
No.
Who else are you guys upside down on? That's got to be the biggest one, right? The Kings.
Well, it's ridiculous. I just saw this sheet earlier today, and I was surprised how many teams were upside down to most of the field.
Lakers.
We win to the Celtics. I'm just talking about the teams that are relevant.
Yeah.
We win to the Celtics. We're a big loser to the Cavaliers, big loser to the Heat. That's irrelevant. Small winner to the Nuggets. So that's not bad. Big loser to the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves might not win a game there.
I agree.
Decent sized loser to the Lakers. Winner to the Clippers. Break even on the Suns. Huge loser to the Kings. Make a little bit on the Warriors. A good winner to the Bucks, and a big loser to the Grizzlies. Mm-hmm. So
that game surprised me. The way Memphis played. Davis was a no-show again.
Again.
You know what?
Again.
Are we at the point where we say, I mean, we love LeBron. LeBron's LeBron, right? But if Davis doesn't show up, the Lakers aren't winning, are they? Regardless how good LeBron is.
They have no shot. They have no shot if Davis doesn't show up. They don't. He can't. At this point in his career, he can't carry the. And he always had a second banana anyhow. I mean, other than that first Cavs team that got swept by the Spurs or whatever that he took to the finals, he's had a second banana there with him, along the way, and two big bananas in Miami with him. Right? I mean, that was a hell of a team that he had there. That was a really, really good team. What they did when they came back 3-1 and beat Golden State is still one of the great stories of the NBA. That was quite a performance.
No, it was unbelievable. So I watch a lot of college basketball, covering Iowa State as we do. I don't remember Austin Reeves in the Big 12.
Really?
I don't remember him, Mike. He did nothing in college. Look at the impact he's having with in the NBA.
Yeah.
Who could have seen that coming?
Nobody could see it coming. But give the kid credit, right? I mean, what an improvement he's made in his career, and he's a fearless kid, right? I mean, he's going out there and doing it. Don't let anybody tell him he can't.
That's the way he's conducting his business. Good stuff. Anything else, Mike Palm?
I think that's about it. We're ready for the puck to drop here, and another exciting night. I'll be cheering for our Winnipeg here. I rebet them tonight too, even though I haven't been this. I thought what what Rick Bowness said at when they talked to him with like 5 minutes left in the first period is exactly right. We're playing north. Yeah. As long as we keep going forward and our speed, we're creating penalties. That's all we have to do. Keep getting north. Don't get keep getting. And he was absolutely right. And that's the way they played. You say you drove the horse like he was 1-9. I mean, they should play this series like they're the best team.
They should. They are the best.
This is an 8-1 matchup. They were only plus 140. What does that tell you?
Yeah. Tells you that it's not the 8-1 that you would expect, no doubt about that. All right, great stuff, Mike Palm. Next week is, speaking of driving the horse, we'll talk about that Derby next week. We come on. We're going to do a little early in the week next week. We'll be with you on Tuesday, so look for it on Wednesday. For Mike Palm, my name's Ken Miller. Mike will join us tomorrow, Fridays. He always does on Miller and Condon at 12:05. That's his spot every Friday as we talk more with our friend from Las Vegas, Circus Sports, Mike Palm. Mike, have a good day or have a good night. Enjoy all the games, and we'll see you next week here on The Hook, part of Iowa Everywhere.